By the way, when you guys bought your house, did the seller come to that old-fashioned closing meeting? Did you guys do one of those crazy 1960 meetings where everybody got together at the same time and you all sat around and wasted a day off from work? Well, yeah. Okay, you know you don't need to do that, right? They don't even do that in half the states in the country. You guys are not going to come to this closing. That would be the stupidest waste of your time I could ever imagine. So just understand that that's not done anymore. Do you know why they used to do those meetings? So in the old days, they used to exchange checks to actually complete the transaction. So of course everybody had to be in the same room at the same time to exchange checks. But how do you think the money changes hands these days? That's right, a wire transfer, right? So all this is done with a wire transfer. And there's absolutely no reason. In fact, in many states, it's mandated that the buyer and the seller never meet because so much conflict can potentially arise from that. So just understand, that we're going to be making sure that the title company gets you your documents so that you sign everything on your deed, and then you'll get your money wired into your account. Okay, again, preparing them for what's coming. And I like calling it the old-fashioned settlement meeting because that's what it is. And I just want to prepare them now. Now again, if they're really on board with me, I can be more direct like I am in this conversation. If they're less on board and it's a bit of a struggle just to get them to hire me, I'm going to be less direct. I may not even bring up stuff like that because they still haven't hired me. But I'm doing everything I can to prepare them for the way we want to work. We can't complain that we don't like the way things are going with our clients if we're not working really, really hard to set up client relationships the way we want them. Okay, so it's our job to do this as much as possible and talk about it that way. Okay, so now transfer tax is obviously going to be dependent on if they're in the city or the suburbs, right? If they're in the city, they're going to be paying 2% of the purchase price, and then the buyer is going to be paying 2% for that whopping 4%. That's the highest in the country, right? Transfer tax here? Yes, it's the highest in the United States. Most places don't have any. So when you're struggling to get paid, you're struggling. That's right, we're #1 in transfer tax. Congratulations. So 4% of every home transaction in this area goes to the government. And just understand, that's why so few people can buy homes, and that's why our homes stay lower than DC and New York, even though we're all in the same region, because of this junk. Now, New York has a pretty bad transfer tax too, but they have Wall Street. Okay, so anyway, transfer tax goes in here. Now, home warranty, are you guys familiar with what that is? They are, they're not, I don't know. Here's what I say. I say, have you ever seen these homes where they say it includes a home warranty? They put that on the sign and everything. They're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's stupid. Right? We're not going to give away stuff. I'm not going to give away $500 of your dollars for no damn reason. Okay? But here's what we're going to do. All right, I want you to keep this in the back of your mind. Because nobody in history has ever bought a house because it has a home warranty on it, just so you know. People are going to be interested in your home based on the pictures and the description. That's what's going to get them in the door. And then once they fall in love with your house, they fall in love with your house. But that mean, scary home inspector is going to come along, and he's going to scare these buyers. He's going to put together a 30-page report that tells them all these things about your house, some of which is good, some of which is not good, some of which is wrong. There's nothing you can do about that, just so you know. Home inspector might even be factually wrong about something. They're not licensed. They don't answer to anybody, and there's nothing we can do about it. But in the negotiations, what we can do is we can typically solve the buyer's fears with a home warranty. Okay, they can have all the systems in the house covered. They could add additional coverage and include appliances and things like that as well. And a lot of times when buyers are afraid, they'll ask for huge, giant credits on your home, $5,000 credit, things like that. And we can often make a lot of that fear go away with just a $500 home warranty. So I want to include it here in the estimate of closing costs just in case, but if you don't need it, we're not going to provide it. Does that make sense? So I'm about saving you money. I'm not here to spend your money. I'm just selling this to you guys. But I just want to prepare you for what the potential costs are. Okay. Now, the attorney that'll review your documents and make sure everything okay, that'll typically run you anywhere from $600 to $850. We didn't use an attorney when we bought our house last time. Really? So, how many $200,000 transactions have you done in the last year? do you buy like $200,000 worth of stock at one time? Do you, I don't know, did you buy a $200,000 car I didn't see out in the garage or anything, your Lamborghini? Do you do a lot of $200,000 transactions? No. Okay. Are you aware that in Pennsylvania or in New Jersey that real estate agents are only allowed to fill in forms? They're not allowed to actually draft the forms. The forms are drafted by the attorneys, right? So when somebody tells you you don't need an attorney, that's always a concern. So I strongly recommend that you use an attorney in everything that you do of this magnitude. Now, if you choose not to, that's your right. I can't make you. But I am going to include it in the closing costs because you should have an attorney involved in this transaction. It'll save you tens of thousands of dollars if something goes sideways. And there's nothing any real estate agent or mortgage person or title person can do about a legal problem. That's a legal problem. And having an attorney in a transaction will save you tons and tons of money. I don't know anybody that doesn't use an attorney in a transaction of this magnitude at the professional level. So, just to be clear, I will never take this number off this sheet. They may say I'm not using an attorney, but I let them know, oh, I'm going to include this anyway in the estimate. You guys can do whatever you want, it's your house, but just understand I'm not taking this off because I recommend this so strongly that I insist that you at least consider it, and I want it included in here because it is such a fraction of the cost of the house. Okay? Now, obviously, township certificate of occupancy, that's going to be about $200, and the bank requires that the documents get FedExed back to them, so that's about $25 for express mail. So, as you can see, when we add all this up, this is what you guys are likely to net in your pocket. So on a 220 offer, you'll walk away in your pocket with about $69,360. And that's very conservative because, as you can see, I included some things in here that you guys may not elect. And we still haven't included your tax proration. On a 210 offer, you guys will walk away with about $60,000, and on a $200,000 offer, you'll walk away with about $51,000 in your pocket. Can this work for you? That's the question. Not, isn't this great? Because it's not great. They all expected more, right? Can this work for you is the important language for you guys to use, okay? Now, they'll come back with something, well, I mean, we could definitely do this 220, Warren. Probably we could make the 210 work. I don't know on that 200. I mean, we were really thinking we were going to walk away with more than just 51. Okay. Well, if they're okay with one or two of the numbers, then we're ready to go. All right? So my language now is, okay, then all I need you to do is hire me. And I hand you the pen. I hand you the pen. Literally, I hand you the pen. Okay? So that's what's going to happen. Right? Now, all I need you to do is hire me. And again, I'm not doing that. I'm just messing with you. But I put it out there like that. Okay? Now, sometimes, and not nearly as often as you think is going to happen, but sometimes they'll say to me, on the fee here, what percentage is that? Oh, yeah, that's 7% plus $695. And that covers all the brokers. So you don't have to pay anything additional for that. That we pay them out of that. Okay, so that handles that. Now again, maybe they say that's high. Again, I find that typically remember, they were bracing for it to be more than what they expected. They had some number in their head. I don't know what it was, but this is what it is. And remember, it's all about the net. The numbers work. So some people are grinders, and that's just what they do. They grind, and so they want to argue about the fee. But I think it's wasteful for us to spend most of our time doing that. That's what realtors tend to do, is we put it in our own head that this is a problem when it's really not. Most of the time, it's not going to be an issue. And again, I'm not apologizing for anything. We cannot do all of the stuff that I just showed you and be discount broker ABC. Discount broker ABC goes out of business every 2 to 5 years. That's a fact. When's the last time you saw a help you sell sign? Anybody seen one of those lately? Assist to sell? Oh, what a surprise. They went out of business. That always happens. Guess what? If the market heats up, somebody like that will be back. They'll do their thing for a couple of years. The same people use those guys, right? Discounters never stay in business. You should never be afraid of them. But you do need to be good at explaining why you're worth what you're worth. So that's what we do all this training on. But don't fear that. Does that make sense? Okay.
But you never mention a percentage with them.
No, I don't need to. It's in the other paperwork, and I'll answer it if they ask. But no, it's not necessary because they care mostly about the net. Right? This is just what I'm figuring out. Now, while I'm doing it, sometimes they're standing over me, like, what percentage is that? And I'll just answer it right then. I'm not hiding anything.
Right.
I'm just not going to create problems for myself just because the industry is filled with people who are afraid to ask for money. Because that's not necessary. Make sense? Okay. So then, they sign it, and then I say, and they think they're done. They sign one thing. It's a decision, right? And of course they're not done because they've got to sign all this other stuff, that Carrie's going to make you sign, make you fill out. So they got to do that. And that's when I say, well, as you know, in real estate, there's always more paperwork. And then, we have to do all this as well. And I take off this, and then I go through it, right? And so I make them initial the bottom of each page of the consumer notice, and then they sign it. They initial here. We go through the whole packet. Okay, seller disclosure is last. Understand, I've done this hundreds of times, so I'm in your shoes, and I know it sucks to get a seller's disclosure filled out when you've just been through this whole rigmarole. So I'm not telling you have to sit there. In fact, I'd rather not be in the room when they fill the thing out. So I leave that for them. But what I do is I point out where they have to initial and sign, because they always forget that. They're so busy answering all the questions, they forget to initial each page. So honestly, what I do is I have them initial it in my presence so that it's done, and then I have them fill out the questions on their own and email it over. Okay? So let's say you want to think about it. All right? So I say to you, okay, so you said okay to the numbers, and I said, okay, great. All that's left to do now is I just need you to hire me. And you look at the pen, and you don't take the pen, all right? And you look at him, right?
Honey?
Right?
I'm not sure. Hey, you don't say a word, you just sit there and wait. I love it.
Something's going to come up, and they need to speak. They need to, if they have a question, they need to ask it. If they have a concern, they need to do it. But me being a puppy isn't going to get me business, right? Remember, I own the room. I've done this before. So I know where this is all going, and I know I'm the person to get this done for you, so I'm not afraid. So I don't need to run around or interject or anything like that. And certainly I'm not going to start backtracking off of any of my offers or my fee or anything like that. You haven't even raised an objection yet. So I'm just going
It's
to...
all the decisions.
So now you look at him.
Right. So the first thing that's going to happen is you guys are going to talk, right? And you're either going to agree that, yeah, I guess, yeah.
I think we need to talk about it.
The point is, yeah, so you're either going to agree and you're going to say, yeah, I guess this is what we do, so okay, let's do it. And then you take the pen and you go. Or you say, well, I think we need to talk about it. And I say, okay, let's talk about it.
Oh.
What were you guys thinking?
Yeah, what are you thinking?
I meant we would talk about it.
Go right ahead. Pat, I'm telling you.
I like one.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
You'd be amazed how many times just the slightest little pushback has an agent running for the door when if they just waited an extra 8 seconds, they get the business. He's nodding over there because he knows it's true. It's basic human psychology, and honestly, I only learned this from doing it.
I can see you.
I just learned it from trying stuff out. Like, you get mad.
I never think of it when you see it, you go, why didn't I think of that?
The point is this. If I told you, something extreme, right? Like, you can't leave their house without the paperwork, right? Like in the movies, right? They've got your family hostage, right? Like, you just wouldn't leave. You just wouldn't. You certainly wouldn't leave just because they didn't immediately grab the pen. They're human beings. They have to process stuff too. Invariably, they have things they need to think about or discuss. But hopefully, remember, this has been a long time. Hopefully, we've addressed anything material. There's a natural inclination to maybe just delay decisions. But that's why we don't go on appointments unless they're ready. We don't go too early. Because you're always going to get that if they still have the back bedroom to paint. That kind of stuff. By the way, how do you handle the back bedroom as being painted? No problem. let's get the paperwork taken care of now, because there's a lot of work for our team to do to get the home ready for the showings. We won't bring in the photographer until you guys say you're ready. But if we take care of this stuff now, we can be ready to rock the moment you guys are. And that's a big deal. We've got to hammer that down. And if they won't do it, I mean, I'm even willing to wheel and deal, because I know once I walk out the door, it's not happening. So if they're like, we love everything, Warren, we're going to hire you in a month when we finish that back bedroom. Well, what could I offer you today to get you to get going now? Because here's what I know. There's a lot of work to be done on my end. This is not your problem, you guys. I just want you to know, this is not your problem. But on our end, there's a lot to be done to get the house ready, to get our stuff ready to go. And it would be a major convenience for us if we could get going on things now, and we won't do the showings or the pictures until you say go, but everything else we still need to get going. And if they say, well, you know, and I might go from 7 to 6.5 just to get it signed now, because what are your odds once you walk out the door? 50-50.
Less than 10%.
Yeah, it's 50-50 with great follow-up with everything